Have you ever wondered how to create a great online profile for yourself? How much better you could prosper if you had one? Dr. Marc Kossmann and Charlie Seymour Jr. sat down to discuss that topic. Here is one of the 10 questions and answers they had.
Well, Dr. Marc, here we are with some questions, and we trust some answers, so that everybody that's
our job.
That is our job. So that everyone that has been watching what we've been doing on Create Your Own Legend Now webinar, we promise to answer some more questions so that you get a real good sense of what we're doing and how we're able to do some things. So we have questions that have been sent to us already that we submitted to you in your handout, in your guide along in the webinar. So let's go down these and answer these questions, okay?
What is the key lesson I have to learn right now? What can I do immediately to take steps to build my legend according to the way you teach it? In other words, over the next 24 hours, what should I do?
Okay, I'm going to assume that you're starting from ground zero when you ask this question. We can look at it a number of ways. But over the next 24 hours, if I were to coach you, this is what I'd say. Go do your assessment. Find out what is out there about you already, and then do your define. Figure out what you want it to say, because you'll see a lot. Maybe you have lots of terrific stuff out there already being said about you. So now you have to tweak some of it. Maybe you find that you're vulnerable and you're that white painting and you're afraid of that smudge coming there. So go ahead and do the assessment and then define exactly what you want. And if you have any time left in that 24 hours after doing that, because it's not an instantaneous activity, either one of those in those phases, then start to outline in the create phase which of those 9 steps you want to take. How would you look at that?
Yeah, I think in a 24-hour time period, you're certainly, the assessment does not take long to do in terms of looking at what is about you online and looking whether you're in that totally neutral, absolutely nothing, hopefully not negative, maybe there's positive stuff. So you can see more or less where you're starting from, and then you're going to really focus primarily, I think, on that define. You're going to sit down and write your... Let's go back to what Charlie said, how we started. We literally sat down and said, Charlie, you go to your corner and write your history. In however long you want to write, but just tell me who you are, how you got to be who you are, and just don't even think about it. Just write it all out. I do the same, and then we went through and looked at how to pull out the pieces and tell the story in the best
We're still
possible
using
way.
some of that information.
Absolutely.
It's very helpful.
So that's what I would do over 24 hours, is sit down and just kind of do a little bit of a life review, but not just your professional career. I mean, that would be the twist here, is to take your curriculum vitae or your resume or your work history. That's one layer. And then there's literally your autobiographical history, who you are, what kind of family you come from, your ethnicity, your hobbies, the things that you are also an expert at, but not necessarily getting paid to do.
Right.
And now look at how they kind of dovetail together, because I promise you they will. We have certain kinds of passions, we have certain threads that kind of weave through both. There's a reason why you're good at what you do, and it really does come from who you are at your core, your personality. So that's what you're looking for, because that's the unique legend that you have to tell. It's not, I went to this school and I had these grades, and that's a very kind of clinical part of your history, and that's the part you're probably least unique about. You might be the number 1 person in your class, but the year before somebody else was number 1 of that class. And so it's taking those passions, it's taking those threads about the why. Why do I do what I do? What is it that drives me? And you're going to weave that into that story. And you can definitely do that in the 24 hours, at least a rough draft, to start sort of looking at how could I tell this story? And ask other people to chime in too, people who know you well. It's interesting, and that was sort of what was interesting about trading stories. But go to your spouse, go to your colleagues, and ask them, what is the most unique thing about the work that I do? What in your eyes am I known for? What would you say to somebody in a very quick conversation that I'm the go-to person for? And see what kind of answers you get, and then figure out how to incorporate that as well.